Coming up on CTV News, the Maryland Senate race continues to heat up. Plus, a longtime public servant dies, and the thefts continue to hit retailers around the region. Those stories and more coming up on CTV News.
Good evening, I'm Mariah Jalad with a CTV News update. While the Maryland U.S. Senate primary race is entering its final stretch and candidates David Trone and Angela Alsobrooks are already outspending any political matchup in the state's history. Trone has already spent more than $50 million on his own campaign from his personal fortune. Alsobrooks has raised just $8 million. Trone says he's willing to spend whatever it takes to beat Alsobrooks and go on to defeat the likely Republican nominee, former Governor Larry Hogan, in the November race. Early voting has been underway since last week, but we won't know the results until the polls close on May 14th. Meantime, unofficial early voting numbers are out, and Prince George's residents are one of the leaders of the pack. Just over 7,000 voters went to the polls to cast their votes early, avoiding the crowds and making sure their voices are heard. Baltimore County had the highest number of people taking advantage of early voting centers. So far, more than 53,000 Marylanders have cast their votes. Former state delegate and figure of public service in Prince George's County, Doyle Neiman, has passed at age 77. Neiman was a delegate in the State House for a dozen years and worked in the Prince George's State's Attorney's Office since 1997. Before moving to Maryland, Neiman was an anti-war activist and helped launch several alternative newspapers around the country. State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy says Neiman will be dearly missed, but his legacy will endure, forever a beacon of justice and integrity in our hearts. And Maryland State Police are investigating the shooting of a woman who was found inside her car on Friday night. Troopers were called to a car that went off the roadway along southbound I-495 before Landover Road around 10:45 p.m. At the scene, they found a Nissan Versa in a ditch with the driver, 20-year-old Nia Hairston, unconscious in the driver's seat. They broke the window to get Hairston out and provide aid. While treating her, they found her suffering from a gunshot wound. Hairston was taken to a nearby hospital where she later died. Anyone with information on the incident, please call 443-829-9227. And police are searching for the person responsible for shooting and killing a man in Temple Hills late Sunday night. Officers responded to the 2600 block of Southern Avenue near the D.C.-Maryland line around 11:20 p.m. for the report of a shooting. That's where they found a man inside of an apartment building suffering from gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead on the scene. Detectives are working to establish a motive and suspects in the case. Anyone with information should call 1-866-411-TIPS. And Maryland is expected to crack down on pop-up car rallies starting this summer by penalizing drivers who participate in so-called exhibition driving. That's thanks to a bill sponsored by Delegate Mary Lehman that passed the General Assembly this session. House Bill 601 makes participating in car meetups a punishable offense with a fine of up to $1,000. Drivers could also face up to 8 points on their driver's license and up to 60 days in jail.
They often draw large crowds of spectators who stand very, very physically close to the action. And all it would take is a driver, for an instant, losing control of the wheel and the car, skidding out of control and taking out people in a crowd. They also attract lots and lots of people, and frequently people, either onlookers or the drivers themselves, will get out and do other things. They'll light off fireworks. There have even been incidents where they've poured, lighter fluid on the ground and then lit the ground on fire and driven in and out of flames, just all kinds of crazy stuff. And we need to put a stop to it. And that is what this bill hopefully will do when it becomes law.
Governor Wes Moore is expected to sign HB 601 into law at a bill signing on Thursday. It would go into effect on June 1st. And Hyattsville police are asking for help identifying two men in connection with a stabbing near Northwestern High School that left a teen injured. The first man is described as having curly hair, clear glasses with black frames, and a large tattoo on his right forearm. He was last seen wearing a black shirt, blue jeans, and white Nike Air Force Ones. The second has short black hair and was armed with a knife. He was last seen wearing a black long-sleeve shirt and black Puma shoes with white stripes. Anyone with information on the identity of either suspect, please call 301-985-5060. And a Washington, D.C. resident has been found guilty in a first-degree strangulation case. Back in 2022, 41-year-old Barry Paul forced his way into his ex-girlfriend's apartment by kicking down the door. Once inside, he viciously attacked and strangled her until she lost consciousness. The victim's friend, who was there at the time, called police and was able to provide CPR. Paul was convicted on Wednesday, May 1st. His sentencing is scheduled for July 26. And a manhunt is underway for a man who was accidentally released from Prince George's County Department of Corrections. Police say Saul Perez Medrano arrived at the department on May 3rd around 7:30 on theft and burglary charges, but was mistakenly released just 2 hours later. Anyone with information is asked to contact police at 804-773-2773. And you're watching CTV News. Property taxes could be going up for one Prince George's County city. I'll have that story for you after the break.
You know, an author once said, before you have a dog, you can't quite imagine what living with one might be like. And afterwards, you can't imagine living any other way. They don't know evil, jealousy, or hate. To sit with a dog on a glorious day is like heaven. Where doing nothing isn't boring, it's peaceful. When the right dog finds the right human, it's as if it always was and always will be. They protect each other, love each other, teach each other. More importantly, they never let the other down.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. We'd never make a separate dinner. And never do that. We'd never let them sleep in our room. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris. Okay, well, I'm not at my desk right now.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Welcome back. Well, even with state assistance, many Maryland families are facing the burden of high child care costs. According to the Maryland State Department of Education, more than 22,000 families were receiving financial help to pay for child care for almost 33,000 children. In the state's recent budget, $328.5 million will be allocated for the Child Care Scholarship Program. Reports indicate that this funding is the largest the program has ever had. The state's program helps families in need pay for child care and early education programs. And the city of College Park could see its first property tax increase in more than a decade. Leaders have proposed a tax increase for residential and commercial properties in the city's 2025 fiscal year budget. The proposed budget includes an increase in residential property rates and also recommends the city raise commercial, industrial, and apartment real property tax rates by 20%. Under the new budget, general property taxes will make up about 55% of the city revenue. And police barricade a suspect after reports of shots fired in a home over the weekend. Around 10 a.m., police said a shooting took place near the 2100 block of Beechwood Road in Adelphi. After trying to make contact with the man inside, police enforced a barricade and residents in the area were asked to shelter in place. Several hours later, the barricade was lifted and the man inside was taken to an area hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. And one person is dead and multiple others are injured after a vehicle crash Sunday afternoon in Suitland. Officers responded to the intersection of Silver Hill Road and Silver Park Drive just before 4 p.m. for a collision between a sedan and a pickup truck. 5 people were transported to nearby hospitals. One later died from injuries sustained in the crash. Police are still investigating what led up to the accident. Anyone with information is asked to call 1-866-411-TIPS. And organized retail theft is now a more than $100 billion problem in the United States. It's even happening in our own backyard. In this surveillance video, you can see suspects walk into a Victoria's Secret store at the Bowie Town Center, spread out, then grab items, stuffing them into a bag and walking out without paying. Retailers and lawmakers are trying to figure out how to fix this problem.
It's alarming. I mean, every consumer should be concerned, and every elected official should be concerned with the theft that's going on in communities, because it is threatening the stability and viability of access in communities, whether it's food and grocery or over-the-counter drugs or prescription drugs. I mean, consumers need to have access to these stores in their communities, but they're at a breaking point. And that's why we really need to legislatively pass something here in Maryland. We will be one of the last blue states that does, which is really unfortunate because we're in the 95 corridor and we're a smaller state, and it's very easy to jump state to state and move stolen goods.
Lawmakers in Annapolis have been trying to pass an organized retail crime law for the past 8 years. And 2 U.S. Senate Democrats are expected to push a bill that would promote warehouse worker safety. According to Maryland Matters, Senators Ed Markey and Tina Smith plan to introduce legislation known as the Warehouse Worker Protection Act. The piece of legislation would require large companies to disclose quota practices to workers. The goal is to prevent quotas from threatening a worker's safety and health. Companies that don't comply would be investigated by the Department of Labor, face fines and penalties. And Simon Buggs is here to talk sports. So Simon, I hear there's some big news coming out of the Baltimore Orioles organization.
That's right, Mariah. Hey everyone, and coming up on your Wednesday sports page, Orioles legends Nick Markakis and Terry Crowley get honor for their careers with the Birds, and a Maryland native comes home to play college ball. Don't go anywhere.
I was kind of struggling finding like my self-identity because I was like too black for the white kids, whatever.
Some of them say I have an intimidating look.
They assume that I'm a girl.
An alien from outer space.
Everyone always thinks that I'm always happy, and that's not always the case.
If I only expose her to what I am knowledgeable of, then I limit her.
She's this recipe, and I don't want it to come from one kitchen.
More STEM programs gives them the opportunity to try on different hats, because that's really all that growing up is.
I am more than the limitations of my past.
My parents.
My age.
More than what you think you know.
More than what you see.
And when you see that I'm more than,
that's when I become me.
What would you do for clean water? For over 700 million people around the world, the answer is literally anything. Walk for hours, stop going to school, sacrifice sleep, health, money, and time, all for water that's not even safe to drink. It doesn't have to be this way. This is a problem we can solve together. Charity Water has been doing this for almost 2 decades now. We brought clean water to tens of millions of people. We prove every project and the difference it makes. With access to clean water, everything changes. Clean water instantly improves health, creates new opportunities, and reverses cycles of poverty. It can transform entire communities. Join Charity Water in our mission to end the global water crisis. Visit charitywater.org today.
What's going on, sports fans? Get excited because it's time for your Monday Sports Page. Beginning with some news from the world of college basketball, former University of Virginia guard and forward Mia McLean is coming home as she has transferred to UMD to play for the Lady Terps this fall. The Baltimore native will be looking to bounce back after missing the 2023 to 2024 season with a knee injury. During her 2 seasons as a Cavalier, McLean averaged a near double-double with 12 points and 9 boards. The 2020 McDonald's All-American and Gatorade Player of the Year is the 7th transfer that head coach Brenda Freese has signed. Switching gears to the major leagues, former Orioles right fielder Nick Markakis has been elected to the team's Hall of Fame. Markakis spent 9 years with the Birds, and during that span, the one-time All-Star won 2 Gold Gloves. He also finished his career 6th all-time in the team's history with doubles with 316, 7th in hits with 1,547, and 9th in runs with 749. His .994 on-field percentage is ranked 1st all-time among MLB right fielders. Another Orioles legend, and Terry Crowley, is also being inducted into the team's Hall of Fame. Crowley played for the Orioles for 12 seasons and became Baltimore's first designated hitter back in 1973. He also won a World Series championship with the Birds as well. Crowley also had 2 stints as the team's hitting coach, one from 1985 to 1989 and another from 1999 through 2010. And during his time as the team's hitting coach, team records were set in batting average, doubles, and on-base percentages. Sticking with baseball news, the Orioles came out on top against the Cincinnati Reds yesterday, 11-1. The team's matchup will be a battle of the Beltway as Baltimore will travel to D.C. to take on the Nationals for their first game of the series tomorrow at 6:45. And wrapping up sports, congratulations to the Bowie State softball team as they were crowned CIAA champs over the weekend for the 2nd season in a row. The Lady Bulldogs defeated Claflin University 11-8 in the big game, and with this victory, the team punched their ticket to the NCAA Division II postseason for the 5th time in the program's history. And that's your Monday Sports Page.
All right, thanks, Simon. I'm looking forward to that Battle of the Beltway. Now let's get a quick check on our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight, showers and thunderstorms are underway all night and throughout the week. Tuesday, we'll have showers and a high of 77 and a low of 64. Wednesday, we'll get some sunshine and temps increase to a high of 86. But Thursday, the heavy rain continues and we'll see a high of 79 and low of 60. And now for a look at the community calendar. This Wednesday, County Police are hosting their monthly Coffee with a Cop. The event allows for residents to enjoy a cup of coffee while meeting some local law enforcement. The event takes place from 10 a.m. to 11 at the Laurel Beltsville Senior Activity Center. And that wraps up our CTV News Update. Join us again tomorrow at 4:30. Good night.
Good night.
What would you give for a child you loved to make their wish come true? To help them fight a critical illness? Just imagine what you'd do. You see, wishes are so powerful, and you can make them real. They can give a child back their childhood, even change the way they feel. Every single one of us can make the stars align, because when we come together, hope and joy will shine.
In the sky.